Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Wibta told my brother-in-law that he cannot take my baby to Hooters to bond. My fianc, 32 male, and I, 28F, have a 10-month-old baby together. Ever since has been born, my fianc's older brother, 42 male, keeps saying he just can't wait to continue the tradition of taking his nephew to Hooters. My son is the 3-year-old grandson, and unless we have another child, very likely the last grandchild, his older sister let him take her sons to Hooters when they were babies, and he expects us to do the same. Thing is, I'm 100% uncomfortable and against this. I've been to Hooters in the past and not treated very well. This plus more personal reasons. I don't like these establishments and don't think it's appropriate to take our baby. I've talked it over with my fianc, and he supports me. Neither of us do confrontation, but I feel the need to establish boundaries the next time he brings it up. Would I be the antagonist to tell him under no circumstances can he take my son there? If he wants to do a more family-friendly restaurant, I'm willing to compromise with that. Also open to him ordering the food to go. I'm confident that your brother-in-law would fabricate his whereabouts. If you really don't want him to watch your youngster alone, don't let him. Literally. It's so the girls will linger longer at his table. This guy is strange. Comment by team member Alex. Now for the top comments. NTA sounds like brother-in-law likes to take babies with him so all the hot waitresses fuss over him. Exactly. A 10 old is not getting anything out of it. He can't even eat there. Maybe a little bonding with uncle, but that could happen anywhere. Who the hell takes babies to Hooters? Family tradition? Their family tradition is literally just to go objectify women together. NTA. You are your baby's mother and you clearly see how inappropriate this is. When I was a kid I insisted my parents take me to Hooters, and I was so mad when it wasn't owl themed. They were uncomfortable, but found it so funny when I kept asking about owls. Just don't let your kids grow up thinking it's an owl restaurant that you mysteriously don't want them to go to. AITA. As a grown adult I'm still kinda mad that there weren't owls, now that I'm thinking about it. NTA brother-in-law sounds kinda misogynistic and like a fucking teenager. What grown-ass man gets excited about Hooters? 100% agree. Hooters just isn't a place for babies. This is weird as fuck. I would not necessarily say taking a baby to Hooters is totally bad, but the fact that the brother-in-law fetishizes over the thought of taking babies there is creepy AF. EWW I'm just imagining all the cringe jokes he probably makes to the waitresses about the kid liking their breasts or some shit. Working in the bar and restaurant industry I've had to endure crap like this where a baby is innocently staring, but the creepy dad says something, like he likes what he sees. Like father likes on her. Am I the antagonist for expecting my parents to keep their promise to my daughter? I'm so mad right now. I'm trying to process the hurt. My mother made a promise to my daughter, to her face, that her and my dad would be there for a very important event for her. We live on the other side of the US, the Mountain West. Us in the Midwest, they have traveled to visit 3 times in the past 14 years, so I was surprised when they said they would come. Fast forward to a week before the event. They tell me they aren't coming, that without direct flights they can't travel due to my mom's health. They could travel if it were direct, but since there is a connection the trip is impossible. They don't even have the decency to tell my daughter themselves. But I have to relay it. The tears shed from my daughter still haunt me to this day. But I chalked it up to okay mom really is sick she can't travel. I get it. It sucks but I get it. Let's jump to today. My sister posts pictures of her and her family at Disney with my parents, where they are spending the next 5 days. So the message I'm receiving: we can go to Disney, but can't keep promises to your kids. So am I the antagonist for being mad? I would tell your mother she was being lied to directly, or I would have your daughter call her grandmother. They were aware that there wouldn't be any direct flights more than a week beforehand, which is BS on its own. Close bracket. Who makes an attempt to book a trip a week before an event? Comment by team member Parker. Now for the top comments. Why can't they switch planes? If they can fly on one plane, They can fly on too. They are full of shit. NTA. If they can spend 5 days at Disney, they can switch planes. Not the a-hole. Depends on if they live in CA and spent 5 days at a nearby place to take 5 days to explore the small park. Or if they went to FL and spent 5 days traveling between 4 Disney parks. Short trips in short time frames with accessible spots vs long and grueling and changing modes in one day. NTA. You have every right to be mad. Takes a special kind of stomach to do that to your grandkid. Don't discuss further around your daughter, though. You should discuss directly with your parents when you're feeling less upset. They didn't do it to their grandkid. They did it to Op, who was the one to deal with the grandkid's pain. They didn't even have the guts to tell her themselves. That's cowardly. Both. They did it to both of them. And not having the spine to say it to the child themselves is something the child will remember. I was a child who was promised lots of things by someone. And that someone broke their promises over and over. And my mother often had to be the one to tell me, kid won't forget. Am I the antagonist for being honest with my father when he asked me if I wanted a car for my birthday? So this happened a year ago, but recent events have solidified my resolve on this matter. So for my 18th birthday last year, my father offered to buy me a car. I refused point blank. I told him that I would much rather get nothing for my birthday rather than a car. I don't think my father thought much of it on that exact day, but a couple days after, when my sister was visiting, he asked me straight up why I refused when he bought cars for my older siblings. I was brutally honest and told him I would much rather walk everywhere I have to go than have buying a car for me only for us to have an argument and you kick me out and take the car off me. My father sat there in stunned silence and my sister went pale because that is what happened to her. Today solidified my resolve on the matter when my brother and father had an argument. My brother chose his girlfriend over our father and my father went crazy and took the keys to my brother's car that my father bought. After my father calmed down he looked at me and said, I guess you were right last year about the car, but just know that the offer is open to you. I felt super bad about that remark. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Edit. So I forgot to mention this in my original post, but my father has realized since the statement I made last year that he has really fucked me up. He has genuinely been trying so hard to better himself, and I can see that myself. It was a very last resort taking my brother's car, and he feels really bad about it himself because he feels he broke an unspoken, one-sided promise he made to me to improve himself and to earn my trust. I feel bad because I can see how hard he is trying, but he thinks all his work has gone out the window. I want to thank everyone for your replies. It has really put my mind at ease. But please do take into consideration that my father is nowhere near as bad as this post makes him out to be. Your father cannot lawfully demand repayment for or refer to a car he gives you as a loan if it was a gift. If you decide against buying the car, let him pay for it and register it in your name so that it will be legally yours and cannot be taken away from you. Comment by team member Taylor. Now for the top comments. NTA, and he admitted you were right. He uses the car as a form of manipulation and control. You did the correct thing not accepting it. Why do you feel bad? Easy, not the a-hole. He showed twice that buying you a car is a way to try to control you and your siblings. He literally proved your point, not the a-hole. I don't get why you felt bad. He proved you were right and agreed with you. Where is the problem? Not the a-hole. NTA, but you can say the only way you'll accept it is if the title, registration and insurance are in your name. Plus he publicly states it is a gift. Then no matter the argument, he can't legally take it back or call it a loan. NTA, you were right and he admitted you were. He needs to learn from his mistakes and stop using vehicles as an emotional tool. Am I the antagonist for cancelling my daughter's flight when she wanted to leave before my niece's wedding that she was a bridesmaid for? I know the title doesn't sound great, but hear it out. My 54 male niece Taylor, 26F, got married a few days ago. My daughter Vienna, 27F, was part of the bridal party as a bridesmaid. This wedding has been over a year in planning, and Vienna of course knew of her role and everything way in advance. She's been hanging around a guy, Matthew, for a while now, but I don't think they are anything serious. Matthew had gone to a different state on a business trip and got into an accident. This all happened a couple weeks before Taylor's wedding. Vienna found out and had a nervous breakdown, saying that she needs to fly out immediately. Yes, I understand she was upset, but she wasn't thinking straight and unnecessarily worrying. I explained to her that even if she goes she has to come back before the wedding, but it'd be better if she didn't as there's a lot of last minute things. She didn't listen and kept saying she's going to go and probably stay there for a while. Both me and my wife tried to explain to her to stay calm and she can go anytime after the wedding. She called up Taylor, my brother and his wife, and told them she wouldn't be able to attend. Taylor understandably didn't take the news well, and his wife made a whole Facebook post saying some people don't want to see others happy, and isn't it nice when family quits at the last moment. She didn't mention us by name explicitly, but it's obvious what it was about. It pretty much caused nuclear warfare throughout my side of the family, but Vienna wouldn't hear it and booked a flight before the wedding. All of our flyer accounts are linked, so I cancelled her flight. Vienna went insane when she found out, and we had a huge argument. And again we told her that she really needs to understand how big of a deal this wedding is, as she's part of the bridal party, and some man doesn't overtake a family obligation. I even offered to pay the extra cost so she can reschedule the flight after the wedding, but she blew up at all of us. Vienna did attend the wedding and did all her duties as bridesmaid and thankfully didn't make a show. And all of us thanked her for understanding, but she pretty much cursed us out, even my brother and his family. Me and my wife tried calling and messaging her after the wedding, but she's not picking up or answering. I do know that she flew out the day after the wedding, so I really don't see what the issue is, but Vienna was clearly mad at us. How on earth do you believe you are anything other than an asshole in this situation? Being excellent with your family came second to needing to look good for the rest of your family. This is one of the excuses for missing a wedding, when your ex-daughter disappears completely, just in case you are at fault. Comment by team member Alex. Now for the top comments. AITA, I'm sure you'll be back next year when she's engaged, and you can't understand why you're not invited. I can see it now. AITA for yelling at my daughter for not telling me she got married. Info, how serious was the accident? Sprained an ankle or broken legs? AITA, either way, your daughter is 27 and capable of making adult decisions. If it was a serious accident, you are even more tough for not allowing your grown adult daughter to decide that taking care of someone in need is more important than a party. AITA. But just to get the timeline straight, her boyfriend had the accident a couple weeks ago, and your niece's wedding was a couple days ago, so your daughter could have gone, stayed, and flown back a couple days before the wedding for last minute things, and to you this was unacceptable? Of course she was also pissed at your brother and his family. They were talking shit about her on Facebook. Am I the antagonist for not wanting to pay my biological son's tuition? When I, 40 male, was about 22, my wife, 38F, was friends with a married couple, both currently 40F, who wanted to have a baby but didn't want to deal with the costs of using a sperm donor agency. My wife suggested I donate my sperm, and they agreed, but made me sign a paper giving away any and all parental rights to the kid. I had no issue with this as at the time I wasn't looking to be a parent. It took a couple of tries, but using a turkey baster they were able to get pregnant using my donated sperm. They moved away before the baby was born, and my wife kept in contact with them, but they were more her friends than mine, and I never met the kid. They send pictures of him from time to time, and he does look a little like me, but I had no desire to pursue a relationship with him. Fast forward to now, when my wife told me her friends wanted me to meet their son. I agreed because I figured why not, and she set up the date. We met up with them, and I met their kid, 18 male, for the first time. He seemed like a good person and I wouldn't mind getting to know him more, but honestly I didn't feel any sort of father-son connection to him. After a while they let me know the true reason they were here. They couldn't afford for him to go to the college he wanted to go to. They asked me to pay his tuition, which was upwards of 50k. I said no immediately. They got upset and started saying that as his father I had a responsibility to make sure he got a good education, but I responded by saying that I had signed over my parental rights per their request and therefore had no responsibility towards him. They got upset and left. They've been calling and texting my wife ever since to get me to change my mind, but I've remained firm. My wife and I have 2 kids of our own to put through college, and I can't be paying another kid's tuition. I do feel bad because he seemed like an alright kid. Am I the antagonist? They made sure you had no parental rights to the child because you were only acting as a sperm donor. The fact that they even asked is extremely absurd / desperate. Inform the mother that she has a literal 2-fold obligation to pay the tuition because she is both the biological and legal parent. Comment by team member Cody. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Is that paper you signed notarized? You need to maybe contact your lawyer to ensure that you have no rights to this kid whatsoever. But also poor kid. His parents tried to use him as a device to guilt trip you, which is 400% the R move. The kid is 18. It's irrelevant. NTA. You didn't give up the kid for adoption. You surrogated their son. You have no obligation to pay for his college or anyone else's in their family. NTA. He is your progeny, but not your child. You essentially donated your sperm and shouldn't be held liable for costs incurred by those who chose to use it. NTA. He's not your kid. Not your responsibility. His parents are asshole for trying. Am I the antagonist for suggesting to my wife that we get marriage counseling? We got married in March and IDK how long the average honeymoon phase usually lasts. But ours was quick. We didn't live together prior to being married. Just putting that out there. A lot of our problems stem from just not being on the same page. I'll forget to put the top seat down or squeegee the shower when I'm done. She'll just not put a napkin or paper towel over the stuff she microwaves, and then when it splatters everywhere, she just leaves it, and I scrub it off. She began doing this thing in roughly May where she goes very quiet and either gives me a full silent treatment or she keeps it to 1-word answers. I'll ask what's wrong. She'll roll her eyes, scoff. I'll ask again. She'll tell me I'm clueless or tell me that it's obvious why she's upset. And I spend an order tossing out what I think the issue is. It's that is why I recommended counseling to her this past weekend. I said I think we need it. Not only because we're a young couple, 23 and 23, but because we seriously lack communication skills and this is something we probably should have done before getting married. She said I was the R and says that this is just a plan to make her seem like a bitchy wife and to embarrass her to her friends and family. Am I the antagonist? Counseling is a fantastic first step, but it is not the only thing. In addressing these issues, you should still go to counseling, even if she declines, so that you may work on your own problems. Just be aware that, if you start changing but she doesn't, you can start to drift apart. Comment by team member Shannon. Now for the top comments. Why would her family or friends even have to know about it? NTA though. Lack of communication is a huge reason for divorce. It's good you're recognizing it. Unfortunately she sounds really immature and I'm not sure how you'll convince her. They'll know because she'll tell them. The time for counseling was before you got married. You both sound super immature. Putting a seat down isn't hard. Just fucking do it. Every time. Nobody wants to see the inside of the piss and poo bowl lever. It's not a decorative feature. I'm going with a slight not the a-hole, because you at least recognize the issues need outside help. NTA. This, people, is why it's a bad idea to marry someone we haven't lived with first. Tell her bluntly that her options are counseling or divorce because the way she handles being upset is toxic, immature, and honestly manipulative, and not something you are going to spend the rest of your life putting up with. Follow through on divorce if she won't agree to counseling, because if only one of you is willing to put in effort to address problems, then the entire relationship is dead anyway. What is frustrating is, after she's done being mad on the issue, Whatever it is has been cleared up. She'll do this. I'm sorry I was so mean. You didn't deserve that. I feel bad thing.